Yes, she does. The only 2 out of 3 times that she told the truth. One is when Laura asked her, do you have a brain? And she says, no. That is the truth. And this is the second time when she actually admits that she tells lies all the time.
A lack of empathy. They have no remorse. They have no guilt. You know people like that in your life, right? Down here, sick.
Hi, my name is John Scarley. This is number 5 in a series. On the last recording in number 4, I mentioned 2010. I was thinking of something else that happened then. Anyway, reality was it was 2012 when the nurse told me you should study psychopaths. So this series is about living with a psychopath. Just didn't know it at the time. And also the world's biggest habitual liar, pathological liar. She's addicted to lying. And that's why I love that first few seconds of this video where she actually admitted for the first time that she lies all the time. And of course, you can, Daniel's a little bit fainter, he's further away, but he says, yes, you do. And he is so right. And I put up with that crap for 30 years, and I'm estranged from my kids, even though I told them the truth, and the mother, evil, was just keeping secrets and everything else. One of the things I want to get into this one, I was going to wait till later, but I've decided to put it on now. I want to describe the day of, and I remember it like it was bloody yesterday because it's etched in the brain. I'll even remember, I put images up of the colour clothes she wore. She had a big white handbag and white shoes and white stockings. And she walks past me as I'm rearranging the front landscaping close to the arched window at the front of the house. And I designed the house, I said earlier, myself and etc. The reason I designed it with only a couple of windows, it was a massive house, but it actually looked smaller than the house next door to us, they had about 10 windows. It was 2.5 times bigger than theirs. But anyway, it looked small for security reasons. Anyway, this day I was out the front and she walks past after getting dropped off, and she goes, "Hi, John," and she had this stupid bloody grin on her face. Well, I don't know whether to describe it as a grin or whatever. Anyway, I said, "Hi, Mum." God, I called her Mum. Can't frickin' believe it. But she went inside, and I didn't have a watch, but I estimated it would have been at least 20 minutes, maybe up to 30 minutes later. I was just finishing and going to go and grab a drink, and out comes the evil bitch through the front door. And just before I put my foot onto the concrete step close to the veranda, she gets into my face and she says, "You've got to go to Joe and demand he apologises to my mother." And initially I say, no, hang on. We don't get involved in their problems. They got a problem, they got to sort it out. No, you've got to do, otherwise she's going to stay here until he apologises to her. And I'm thinking, God, I don't want that. She's here every bloody day, but at least she's not here at night. And I say, no, we don't get it. Let them sort out their problems. No, she's going to stay. So you've got to go and tell him he's got to apologise to my mother. I said, no. Anyway, then she uses emotional blackmail. "Yeah, if you love me, you'll do it." Well, what do you think I'm bloody working hard for, I felt like saying, even though you're crazy, etc. I said, but anyway, for the kids and everything else, we want to keep the family together. And, but anyway. Then I turn around and eventually, all right, okay. Tell me what happened so I know how to word it and how to approach Joe, because he's a decent guy. "No, I'm not going to tell you." "Why?" She says, "Because it's so stupid, so trivial, I'm not going to tell you." "No, but you need to tell me." Now, I repeat this at least 8, 9, maybe 10 times. And I say, but you've got to tell me because I want to approach Joe in a good way. He's a decent bloke and I don't want to upset him. So I don't want to say anything that might trigger. So tell me what happened. And her reply every time was, "It's so stupid, so trivial, I'm not going to tell you." So after 8, 9, 10 times, I end up saying, well, bugger it. If you're not going to tell me, I'm not going to go there and just tell them to apologise without knowing how to approach it and everything else. And so then I say, anyway, he's a decent guy. When he realises he's done wrong, he'll apologise. So your mother will only be here till tonight, or if he doesn't do it by tonight, he'll sleep on it and he'll definitely say it by tomorrow. So she's only here for one night. And she turns around. I use the word salt of the earth, Joe is, etc., etc., anyway. And he'll realise. Anyway, she turns around and says, no, he won't. And I said, why? I'm sort of wondering why she knows he's not going to apologise. And blow me down, she turns around and says, because it's my mother's fault. Now, until that point, even when she walked past me, I thought, geez, a strange way she's holding a... Hang on, I know somebody else does, but no, stupid way she holds this bag, the way she carries this bag, etc., when she goes to church and whatever. Anyway, I thought, God, and of course, when I mentioned earlier about the church, in the first couple of years, because the marriage counsellor says, do things together, etc., and anyway, so I went to church with her for it, but she never took part in anything that I wanted to do. And that included isolating me from my cousins, isolating me from friends, isolating me from even the best man at a wedding and everything else. And mind you, I asked many times. I realised after asking, 8, 9, 10 times that her mother was over every time. And I thought, well, I'll keep asking and see what happens. So, and it wasn't every week that I was asking, but anyway, it might have been once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, depending. In the middle of winter, I didn't ask. But anyway, sure enough, every time I asked, her mother was over. Now, I end up asking her for little things like that. And yet in 1995, the day I come back from my first overseas trip after the government asked me to export my expertise, guess what? 2 of them bloody rolled up, not one, but bloody 2 of them, and stayed for 9 months. And I was never asked. And I made a point of saying to her, how come you didn't ask me? She thought it was her bloody house, and I was only there to pay the bills and build everything and pay for it and everything. It was my knowledge because they were too stupid for anything. And that included her sister buying a house. Anyway, I'll get into that later. I went to talk to Joe, and as I walked through the gate, etc., he comes out, he spots me, and before I open my mouth, he says, John, I did nothing wrong. I can still picture his bloody face. Sorry, Joe, I don't mean bloody for you. Rest in peace, Joe. And I know that 90-minute conversation we had, or close to 90 minutes, we had a lot of laughs about her 13-hour beauty sleep, which didn't do any good. And also, how her first husband died to get away from it. And you also said that when we talked about it and explained to you the situation, and you said, oh, bugger this, I'm too old. I don't remember what age you were at the time. You were in your mid-80s or something. And you said, oh, I'm too old to bloody go through a divorce, etc. And you end up bloody apologising to her in the end. But how frickin' evil's that? Yeah, before I get on to the one why your mother needs help and I don't, this is the day after. Come out of hospital, mind you, and there's a saying in there. I'll go into that saying later, but here's one where I get very emotional, etc. Yeah, listen to this.
Talking about those issues, you would understand my feelings. I had stayed in a marriage, like people tell me for the last 15 years. John, you're going to do yourself more damage by staying in. I said,
yeah, I love the kids, and I'm not going to leave for the kids. And all the damage that I knew, and especially as I've probably said already, Daniel, when you were 16, one kid that his parents were divorced, and he's 3 days with his father, 4 days with his mother, back to his father after 3 days, back to his mother, and 3 days, 4 days with his mother, back to his father. He committed suicide when you were 16, and I've known a lot of other cases of divorces, and the kids get dragged through hell, and I stayed in for the love of my kids. If that's not bloody proof. And I did back-breaking work, and I ran 2 businesses and all sorts of shit, and this is your mother's version of sharing. Here we go.
because Tuesday came back from the mediation. I went Monday and I laid out on the line and I said, I just want 50%, not 1 cent more. So the education sharing, I'm happy to tell you, and I will be going backwards and forwards because I know you went some time. The education sharing is all the work and she keeps everything. That's the problem when her mother come over.
Yeah, I'll get into her mother twice come over and didn't even ask me, and yet I used to ask just for the get my cousins over for a barbecue, and it was always no, and she didn't ask me when 2 of her frickin' psychopath mother and ugly sister come over for 9 frickin' months, and then her mother come over again later for 9 months. But here's the one where it's made clear by the thing, and mind you, these people must be good, because while the people at the hospital probably heard just under 1%, or maybe let's say just over 1% of the shit, because I had 12 hours with them. The first 2 or 3 hours was about them, and then they wanted to hear my story, but then we kept going backwards and forwards with their story. But hey, these people must be good, because they didn't even hear add 4 zeros to the before you put the 1%. So 0.00001%, and they turn around and said this about your mother. And she's there, all she says is,
I certainly think it would benefit from some sort of counseling. Never necessarily have to be psychosis, but, I can listen to the drugs and people come out of counseling with this and
yeah, you can hear it twice, so hopefully it's loud enough. And mind you, this is the day after I got out of the mental health institution and I got put in, and she's the one that's being told she needs the help. Let me tell you about a saying in there. If you're not crazy when you go in, you're crazy when you come out. And this is what I say after that comment. Here we go. Yes, I said to her, in fact, it was about 20 years I started telling her she should see somebody, because, especially after throwing something off the table with a training session with her mother, her auntie. I haven't gone into the full details of that one. But yeah, I said to her, and I didn't get you kids involved. You kids had no idea, because you don't get kids involved, but she did, of course. But here's one I'll put on, and they're talking about me now. And you can hear clearly at the beginning, John, etc. And here we go.
I think that I cannot offer you anything except to be psychometric. I think criminal aspects in terms of maybe speaking on other things. There's nothing I can do but it's not about what one can help.
Yeah, and here's what I say after that. Yeah, but she says, no, you don't. You're fine. And this is the day after I got out of hospital, because she lied about me being on drugs, and that I used the words rip her mother's heart out, when what I really said was, now that I know you don't I've known your mother for 25 years, hasn't had a heart, and now I know you don't have a heart. I guess I've known for 10, 15 years, and I've kept my promise to the kids. You all had jobs by then, and I'm out of here. I'm finished. I'm done. And yeah, so there you go. But in her affidavit for the court, she said that I might have psychological problems, and it's clear as day that the psychologists there, they must be good. And mind you, in less than 1 hour, and given the fact that I probably spoke for about 35 minutes of that hour, they spoke, 25 minutes, because I had to give them 10 minutes talk, I guess, whatever it was. And they picked it that she needs help. And therefore, the 220 people at the Royal Adelaide Hospital who were unanimous, cannot be wrong, and are not wrong if a psychologist picks it up in 1 hour, because they heard more than that. And the Catholic Church, when I went to get an annulment, I've already said it. So send me the bloody original paperwork so I can get an annulment. Please. I'm sick of being even bloody thinking I was married to a psychopath and all the crazy shit, Loveless and bloody take, her delusions and everything else. I don't want to die with knowing that I was married to her. Yeah, okay, so I was married to a slut. I agree. Yeah, with her own admission, at least 6 times, as I say. I still reckon it was 8. But her own admission that somebody who marries somebody, a woman who marries a guy and is not in love with him is nothing but a whore and a slut. Well, she is incapable of love. This is what psychopaths are not capable. And again, if I haven't said it, to the 4, 5, 6 million people, women that get married every year and don't have a choice, I certainly don't include you women in that. And I know a couple of them, and they're fantastic women, but that's it. Anyway, crazy, psycho, evil bitch. That's my ex. And the kids, well, by the evidence of even the last year, I've got to put on number 6 what's happened. And to those 6 people, women who made me promise not to put this on for a couple of years and give the kids a couple of years, and especially those 3 school teachers, oh boy, you wait till you hear what's happened in the last 12 months, especially with Laura, the school teacher. You would not believe. Yeah, you're right. She should never have been a bloody school teacher. Imagine the poor kids under her. And I stayed in the evil marriage for the last 20 years for the love of 4 kids. Didn't bloody do me any good, did it? We're estranged. So you kids now, I understand you've all got problems. You've all got bloody things. I don't blame you. It's not your fault. But bloody get some help. Don't wait for 57 years like your frickin' evil mother. And don't take the attitude, it's the rest of the world, I'm okay. It's the rest of the world that's crazy, which is certainly her attitude and her mum's attitude. Oh, God, how many more things I can tell you. I'll put bits and pieces on over. I'm certainly not going to remember everything. But, yeah, and that's another reason why the guy that I'll never forget, there was a couple of army guys, but anyway, this one here, unfortunately, yeah, I don't want to put too much, but I don't know his name. I've forgotten his name, and I tell people when I walk out, I'll deliberately forget your name. And I never knew their surnames in 99% of the cases. It was always their first name only because I didn't want to know their surname, etc., because I never wanted to use it or do anything. It was privacy. But that's why the guy, he got raped as a kid, and when he come back from the war, and a lot of people do it, and I'm anti-drug, but I can understand people wanting to take drugs to block things out, and certainly a lot of the guys that come back from the war, and boy, if anybody's listening to this, whether you're in America, whether you're in England, whether it's anywhere in, whether it's Australia, the guys that come back from the war, bloody listen to them, talk to them. They've been through hell and back. My hell was nothing compared to these guys. And even there, I say I've been a hell and back bloody 4 times, once with the old man and 3 times by the ex-wife. But that's nothing compared. It's in the context of a marriage I'm talking about. And even the guys that go and pick up bodies through floods and earthquakes and bloody everything else, plane crashes and, the great tsunami we had and everything else, and after fires, like I went to help at Port Lincoln, but I didn't pick up any bodies, but I heard some horrific stories. Those guys are the ones that are real heroes, not me. And in total, yes, Laura and kids, I've been credited total of 5 lives, although one is debatable because of, if he'd gotten out, that was one of my other terrible days that I had at the hospital, apart from the 2 that I mentioned earlier, when I looked after kids who'd been in and out of 100 bloody foster care. And I had the children's hospital. I realised one day when I'm working at the children's hospital, and I was undercover, I won't mention why, but a 6-year-old who was in the room next door, what I heard her comment, I realised that this 6-year-old had more empathy, more humanity in her tiny little finger than now I understand not only the clan of 5, or if you include Hoss 6 with their 600-700 kilos between them, but include you 4 kids. So between the 10 of yous, this 6-year-old girl had more humanity and empathy and compassion in her little finger than what the entire, between the 10 of yous, you're probably about 800-900 kilos, whatever you are. This girl had more humanity in her tiny little finger. Boy,